This episode of Breakthrough Success is brought to you by Jobber. Jobber is your business command center. The easy-to-use app powers your sales, operations, and customer service all in one place. Go check them out at getjobber.com/im/breakthrough to receive 20% off your first 6 months. What's up, Breakthrough Success listeners? Marc Guberti, the podcasting coach here, helping people launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts. And one of the things people want to figure out with their podcasts and with their businesses is how do we scale them? How do we go from a smaller business to being able to reach more people, creating that impact and getting that revenue? That's what we're going to talk about in this episode. We are joined by a guest today who has founded and sold more than 24 businesses, all at 28 years old. And he is on a mission to teach entrepreneurs to see the opportunities that are all around them and that they don't need huge amounts of capital and investors before they set out to change the world. And most importantly of all, that they can be considered a success and an inspiration no matter how small they might be. Our guest today for this episode of Breakthrough Success is none other than Prady Tewarie. Prady, welcome to the show.
Mark, my man, it's a pleasure to be on. I'm super excited, and every time I do one of these interviews, my goal is people listening, tuning in, whatever they're doing in their car, an Uber ride, sometimes in the gym, whatever. I want them to be able to take one thing away from the show and that they can apply right away. Because we all talk about like a lot of theoretical stuff a lot of times, but I think when I was getting into entrepreneurship, when I was getting into the game, I wanted to learn. And I would go to conferences and listen and read books. And sometimes, like a lot of times, you have interviews and the guests would speak a lot about themselves and their own biographies. But I was like, man, how does it help me? So at the end of the day, people are listening in because they want help and they want to get better in their business. So that's the goal, man. That's what we try to do, and that's why I'm here. Serve your audience.
Yeah, that's a really awesome way to kick off the episode. That's one of the things that I've noticed as well. That's why I do kind of like when I ask that first question, because I know a lot of people ask a bio question, like tell me about yourself, but I try to frame it in a way where we can also educate at the same time. So for you, I know that you've had a lot of businesses, you've sold a bunch of businesses, 28 years old. I'm wondering if you could share with us a little bit on how that came to be. What really allowed you to do what you were doing at such a young age, and what was the inspiration for starting?
Yeah, so number one, the inspiration for starting was I just saw a problem that I need to solve. And that's super simple, and it sounds like everyone keeps saying that, but that's what business is about. And I think a lot of young people, we get started today, there's Instagram and all that stuff, and we see like a lot of the flashy lifestyle, and that's all part of it, I guess. But it's a very small part of it, and that's almost no part of it. And I wanted to separate that. So as entrepreneurs, we are not celebrities. You're not a movie star. You're not a Hollywood actor. None of that stuff. What do we do? What does an entrepreneur do? An entrepreneur rolls up his or her sleeves and gets to work and builds shit. That's what we do. So I think that's very important, because I think we go through phases, in our country, like in the 80s and 90s, it was like maybe doctors, then it was engineers, then it was pilots. And now the cool thing all of a sudden is to become an entrepreneur. Like everyone needs to do that right now, right? But I want people to recognize that this is not a fad. Like if you're just doing it because you're following a trend, you're going to be very disappointed because it's a profession, it's a job to build a business. And the deeper thing about it is, how do I solve problems for people? And then number one is like, how can I solve that problem? What is that problem worth? Will people pay for it? And how much will they pay for it? And will they pay for it so much that it actually has room to scale? So my first thing was that I was overhearing conversations at college about a problem that people were having. And I was like, I can solve this. And I was dead set on solving this problem. And it wasn't anything about how is it going to serve me, or how is it going to help me? And a lot of it is for a lot of entrepreneurs, about them all the time. No one cares about you. It's not about you. How do you solve the customer's problems all the time? Become absolutely obsessed with solving that problem. Like all day, I'm just constantly thinking about how I can solve that need. And that's where you build a business around it. So first, find a problem that you're willing to solve that problem really well, become the best at solving that problem, and then build a business around it. Not the opposite way. A lot of us right now, we build a workforce. We get like logos and business cards and websites, and And I was like, man, do you even know your product? Like, people want your product? Oh, I haven't tested it yet. I don't know. I was like, dude, that's wrong. First, have product market pull, have a product that people want, you're solving the problem, and then the rest comes. So it comes with a deep willingness to solve people's problems. And it's a character-based thing. I don't think everyone is that excited about that. And I wanted to put in that phrase because, people need to really realize, hey, is this really for me or not? You know what I'm saying?
And I mean, it's a really great insight where, I mean, a lot of business is about solving people's problems. Like, this episode's going to help you with scaling your business. It's going to help you in these different areas. And each episode is a way of solving people's problems. Now, I know you're not going to listen to every episode we ever do on Breakthrough Success, but I know you'll listen to some that really hit on a problem you have right now. So part of creating the content is solving that problem that people have. And having that good idea, that problem-solving idea, really sets you up for having the potential to scale. But I wonder if you could share a little bit of insights on how we can scale our businesses without the capital, without the investors.
Yeah, so there's a couple principles that I've employed about scaling. So the first principle is like, why the hell should you scale? And this is a mindset-based thing. I think a lot of people, they think of business as, I just want to generate income. They just want to buy cash flow. And that's great. It's good because you can make a little income on the side. Maybe you have an Amazon business. That's great. But scaling really is taking a business and magnifying it to a large degree so that you can make more impact, and that you as the founder, are doing more strategy-based stuff. And you keep copying the day-to-day tasks that you're doing. Okay, so that's why you scale. So you have bigger, more massive impact. That's number one. I think this is the second thing that I've always said, like, how do you do it? You need to create systems in your business. Now, it sounds again like a catch-all phrase. What am I talking about, creating systems? So this is something really small. So one of the things that I've become really good at doing, and that's like my passion, is I go into small businesses, barbershops, massage salons, anything small, tiny businesses. And I've found a knack about how I can improve them and scale that business up. So people come to me for that. And people come to me like, man, what do you have? Like some formula, like, can you sell a course? Can you make a Kajabi course or a Udemy course? What do you do? And I was like, to be honest, man, on what I do the first day, I go in there and I create a Google Drive and I just basically organize their shit. It's not organized. I have no organization. So the first thing is, if you want to scale, you need to build your business so that you can scale, so your business can exist without you. Okay. So how do you do that? Massive types of organizations and being able to automate all processes. So every process in your business, you can teach that and show that to someone else and they can take it over from you. Okay. So that's the number one thing. I'll tell some people a little quick story about this because it probably make more sense. I was at a process of one of my businesses. We're finishing up. I was going to sell it. I'm super excited. We're making really good revenue. In the last week, we're doing due diligence phase, and for anyone who sold a business, you have accountants come, they check your books, they come to your facility, basically check how everything's going. And I remember one of the partners came to talk to me. He's like, Prady, your business is good. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. So how's everything looking? He's like, honestly, we can't buy this. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, why can't you buy the business? I thought we were almost in a deal. He said, I have a problem. I was like, what's your problem, man? He said, my problem is that I came to your facility and you're here. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, you're here. That's a problem. And I was like, what are you talking about, man? And so what he was trying to say is that every part of the business, from fulfilling to shipment to accounting to marketing, BD, finance, everything I was involved in as the owner. And that's not a scalable business. So what he told me is like, Prady, if you leave this business, the business will collapse because it's a business based on you being part of every process. And that's what a lot of businesses in America don't do correctly. They build a business around a few people or the founders, and they do everything. And they have a very tough time delegating things and delegating tasks. And if you can't delegate tasks well, or if the business is too dependent on you as a person, your business might generate income or revenue, but it's not a scalable business. So when I'm in the process right now of purchasing businesses, I look for markers whether the business is scalable or not. And one of the things I'm looking for, but the internal processes of the company is something that I can take over without having to have the owner involved in every part of it. Otherwise, the business, yeah, you're making a lot of revenue, but I can't take it over. If I have a business that's based on me being a public speaker, I might make $20,000, $30,000 for a speaking gig, but I can't sell that business because if I'm not the speaker anymore, no one's going to hire me. And that's where most people go wrong in this country. They start a business or a small business or a side hustle, and everything part of that side hustle is all them doing it, and they have a lot of trouble delegating tasks away. So when the time comes for them to scale, the business collapses because none of the processes are set to be able to copy it and transfer it and to delegate to other people. And I think that's a really key tenet. And one of the biggest things about that is trust. You as a founder, when you start your business, maybe you start your podcast, you're alone. Like I started my businesses, I remember from like freshman year, sophomore, junior, I was just alone by myself, man, like on my computer doing stuff. And at some point your business is ready to scale, but because we're so, we're not lonely, but we're alone as entrepreneurs. When the time comes to scale, what do all entrepreneurs say? Man, I can't hire someone, they all suck. He's not good, she sucks, she's not as hardworking as I am. I can't find anyone. And at some point what happens, we're so used to building our own things that we think that no one is as good as us. And the answer to that, for anyone listening, it's probably true. No one else is probably going to be as excited about your business. But the problem with that kind of behavior and that kind of thought process is if you don't give other people trust that they can do the job, they'll never be able to take over the reins and your business doesn't become scalable. And this goes a lot to how I see, and I think leadership is important and parenting is important. Good parents aren't helicopter parents. They allow their children to give them freedom, they allow them to make mistakes, and then they want them to become independent. Where a lot of entrepreneurs go wrong, they have their employees, but they're like helicopter employers. They're just constantly watching them, and they don't want them to do well because like if it goes wrong, they're like, dude, I'll take it over. Those are not scalable businesses. So the first thing is to answer one of your first questions, which is, dude, you got to build a business where every process you can write it on a 4x4 and you are willing to delegate it to someone else. Otherwise, it's not a scalable business. It might be a lifestyle business, it might be a personality business, but it's not a scalable business.
Coming up on Breakthrough Success, we'll be talking even more about delegation and how you can get more comfortable delegating some of the tasks in your business. But first, we have the Jobber Minute. And I know some people have heard about Jobber offering On My Way texts, and people have been wondering, well, what exactly are those? Well, On My Way text messages is an included service available on the Jobber app that lets your customers know when you're on your way to a job. Use a standardized message to remind customers that you are on your way, running a bit behind, or how long it will be until you arrive, allowing you to spend more time on the actual work than on corresponding and potential miscommunications. Make sure you give Jobber a try and get a really awesome coupon over at getjobber.com/IM/breakthrough, which will be in the show notes. Anyway, let's go right back into the episode. And it's really interesting. One of the key insights from Prady's conversation about, how do we scale our businesses is that no one's going to care more about the business than the founder. So you can find people to delegate to, and it is necessary to make that jump. In the beginning, though, you have to put in all of that work. And you may not find people who are perfect clones of yourself, but you can find people who they get the job done, they make it scalable, and they allow you to reach more customers because you can only do so much by yourself. Like with podcasting, there's doing this interview, there's prepping for this interview, there's editing this episode, there's publishing this episode, there's marketing this episode, and podcasting is just one segment of my business, which is why delegation is so important for people. And I think Prady also hits on a key point where people don't trust delegating their work because I feel like when people delegate for the first time, they expect each person they hire to do just as good as you, just as good as the person founding the company, which if you look at the distribution of revenue, it's probably not going to happen. Like if you make like whatever you make and then you're paying someone X amount of dollars per hour, I mean, it's hard to get someone to have that same level of dedication as you, but it is necessary to do some of that delegation in order to scale.
Yeah, I think you said that perfectly well, man. It's being able to also show trust and having, and for me, like now, like people say, okay, well, how do you know if someone's right or wrong? Are you just saying we should hire everyone? No, of course you need to have strict standards. I have a very, very strict vetting process that I will allow to work in my company. But also it's like I have a process where if someone does the job 75%, maybe 70% as well as I can, I outsource it. Because at the end of the day, the more people I can impact and my touch points are more, and I can focus on the things that actually will bring my business forward. That's more important than me doing the day-to-day tasks, right? And so one of the things I do right now too, and I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs, I think every few days, man, and they're like, man, I'm stuck on my revenue. I'm making, I don't know, small business making $4 or $5 million a year, and that's where I've been stuck for forever. And they're disappointed. They're like, dude, all I do is work. I'm working 100 hours a week. I'm taking no vacation. All I do is work, man. And I'm like, okay, let's do this, man. Why don't you write down everything you do in a day? And I look at their list, and this is how it goes: task, 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 task. And so one of the hard conversations I have with a lot of people, and I'm a super blunt dude, like I'll just tell you what I think. And I was like, dude, to be really frank, you're not an entrepreneur. You're a taskmaster. All you do is tasks all day. Entrepreneur, you're not busy scaling. You're not busy strategizing. You haven't created something, like you haven't had a thought in your mind that brings you to the next level. So in order to get to the next level of your business, you need to set strategy. You need to think about your business. You need to create strategic partnerships. You need to think about acquisitions. You need to say, how do I, scale one part of my business? Like, what do I change with that marketing? Like, that takes time, but like if you're doing tasks all day, like how are you going to make time to think about strategy-based stuff? And so that's why a lot of businesses fail too, is like, or they don't grow or they stay the same. A lot of businesses in the country don't work. When they work, a lot of them stay stagnant. Very few actually keep working leaps and bounds. And it's because you're a small business, and then you just go to work, you clock in, you do all your tasks, and then you come back the next day, you clock in, you do your tasks. But as an entrepreneur, if you're thinking about scaling, if you really say, hey man, I have a business right now, I don't want to have a small business. I want to take it to the next level. I want to grow from, so I have a model of like 0, 10, 100, start with 0, go to $10 million, go to 100, like I want to grow. That means that your focus as an entrepreneur, you're too important. You need to constantly think about strategy, bigger picture stuff, and anything you can delegate, you got to delegate. So you free up your time in order to do strategy-based stuff. So I think that's very important too.
Yeah, that's a really great insight, because there are a lot of people who they just put their head down and they keep doing the work, but they don't really think about where that work is leading. They don't really think about, does this make any sense for me to still be doing? I'm just going to put this on my to-do list, and I'm not going to feel good about it or myself until I hit that check on my app, or I draw the check mark. So really great point by Prady to really think more about where you're all going and the strategy. I think a good analogy to this is the difference between working in your business versus working on your business. So working in your business, that's like doing the taskmaster. Working on your business, more of that entrepreneur, taking that satellite view, doing the like strategizing, really being more conscious of where you're going. So I'm wondering, how can we shift from that working in our business, that whole taskmaster mentality, versus working on our businesses, that entrepreneur mentality?
Yeah, I think that and one thing to also think about, I think really important, like doing like about scaling and why you should even do it, is like doing small things and working on small things almost takes as much work as doing the big thing. And so like, here's an example. Like I had a business, for instance, we're really going to start, like we're doing like, I think with this was way in the beginning, 500, maybe $1 million a year. So I was putting like 100 hours, probably a little more, 105 hours a week. Now I got a business that maybe does 10 million. And now at this point in my career, I'm maybe doing a business that's, all my business together doing over 100. So, but the point that I'm making is that my work hour output actually stayed the same. So the effort required to do any of those things well, it's almost the same. So why not think big? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is just something that I've always noticed. And I think a lot of, it's so crowded, the field of like working at a 9 to 5 and making 100 grand and driving a nice, nice Mercedes. It's such a crowded field. Everyone wants that actually thinking bigger was actually quote unquote less competition. Like my goal is like, oh, I don't want the 9 to 5 making 100 grand. Why don't I want to make 100 million. Like, how many people think of that? People don't. Like, there's no competition. So yeah, it's hard, of course, to get to that level, but there's no competition. So I'm like, dude, you're already thinking, you're already in pain, you're already starting a business, just make it 10. Grant Cardone talks about 10, like make it really bigger. Like actually, and that's like something I've always noticed. So my work ethic has like stayed the same, but my hours many times, like doing busy work, have actually decreased. I spend a lot of time like just thinking and just strategizing. I spend a lot of time networking now. I'm not working on my business. So actually, it's like, what's the point in thinking small all the time? And actually, it's the ROI of starting a big business is the quote unquote same as like your work expenditure. Starting a small business, I learned that even in like raising capital, it's so hard to raise like $100,000 or $500,000, dude. Like, go to friends and family around, and everyone's like, dude, now you go to institutional investors, like, oh, I want to raise 10 million. Wait, it's the same, or it's even easier sometimes. And it's like it's a big, something like a mindset shift for people that, we think that big things are super crowded or super hard. Most people just don't think about that. They don't think big. That's not their horizon. Now, I'm from Europe, and in Europe, like when I'm from Western Europe and from the Netherlands, great country, awesome place, but like there, we just don't think big. Like it's not in their mind to think about certain things. And I think it's a mindset shift to why scaling, I think, is important. It's like, why not scale? I mean, you're already in your family business or in a small business, you're doing crazy hours, just like scale the business, because it's the same work.
Wow, I mean, that's a really great perspective, because I think people think that when you're bigger, there's more competition, there's more people who know about you, there's more people who could take your business model. But when it comes to being bigger, there are a few people willing to take that path. And even for people who may want to take the business model, I mean, you still have to grow the audience. You still have to put in an insane amount of work. So Grant Cardone, I'll throw in Gary Vaynerchuk, because those two people create a ton of content. And you could easily take their strategy. You could do the however many Instagram posts they do a day, however many tweets they do a day, however many YouTube videos. I know they do daily content. They're releasing on all these platforms. Like, you could take the strategy, but it's just so hard to implement, which is why there isn't as much competition on the top. Something that I feel like a lot of people don't usually think about.
Yeah, it's like, stop, anyone listening, like, stop rejecting yourself. A lot of us fear rejection, and we're like, other people are going to reject you. No, they don't reject you. You reject yourself. Before you even try, you say it's not possible. You're rejecting yourself. And like, I was younger, and I just maybe missing like a gene or something. I never had that. I was like, oh, I'll just go for the best thing. I was like, why should I like go for like a certain car? Well, I just try to go for the best car, and it's the same. Like, you go out, to a bar when you're younger. I was like, everyone was like talking to the chick who's maybe a 6 or a 7. I would go straight to a 10 and talk to her. What does it matter? Like, most guys don't try. I don't think don't reject yourself. And I would always end up with the best, always. And still, that's just the mentality. So I'll date the best chicks, drive the best cars, have the biggest businesses, because I just don't reject myself. If someone's going to let other people reject you, now you're rejecting yourself. Starting a business, being massively successful is already so hard. Now you're going to root against yourself too. Like, dude, you're done. So you already have a 1% chance of succeeding. Now you're also your biggest enemy by rejecting yourself. So
right.
Big part. It's a psychological thing that I see. Like, before you even try, you say it's not possible. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'd be surprised. Go to like an exotic car dealer, and you'll be like, the least prices you can negotiate maybe for like a super nice car might be the same as you can for like a $20,000 or $30,000. You're like, no, it's not possible because you didn't try. Like, there's no competition. Like, there's just no one at those dealers. They don't go there. Like, no one shows up to those places, because everyone in America is just rejecting themselves all the time, all the day. I don't want to talk to my boss for a raise. I don't think he'll appreciate it. You reject yourself. Now you're not going to get a raise because you don't want to talk for it. I don't want to start this thing. I don't think I should go and talk to that person. You're rejecting yourself. So stop doing that. It's a mindset thing, and ask for things. Go for it. If it doesn't work out, don't. You'd be surprised how many people and how much doors will open in your life when you stop rejecting yourself, literally. And that's what most of us do.
That's a really great message for people. Don't reject yourselves, because you are going to face it outside as you grow. You face criticism or rejection or trolls. Like, that's good because it means you're going somewhere, but don't do it to yourself, because you're either going to be your best friend or your worst enemy. It's better to be your best friend. For people who want to learn more about Prady, where are some of the good places we could go? And we'll throw all that into show notes.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the best place to go, I do have a couple things. I have a blog that I write, and I write every 2 weeks. I write a pretty long blog about a lot of motivational stuff, a lot of entrepreneurship stuff. People can go and get Azoth. Azoth is my company, so GETAZOTH.com. And there's a blog section. I blog there. My articles also are on Medium. You can look me up. You can also just Google me, Prady Tewarie, as everyone knows, Prady Tewarie, and you can find a bunch of stuff. And you can find my Instagram. If people want to shoot me a message on there, shoot me a DM, feel free to do so. I try to respond to I'm pretty proud of myself. I try to respond to almost everyone. It takes me sometimes a little bit, a few days, but I do respond to every single DM I get. And so I will respond to any questions you have. More than happy to answer. Or you can shoot me an email. Go to getaza.com and you can find my email and contact information on there.
Prady, thank you so much for sharing those resources. We'll include those in the show notes, as well as a link, marcguberti.com/strategy to schedule a free call. See if you want to learn how to launch, grow, monetize your content, or just make money with your content. That's an option too. But once again, Prady, thank you so much for coming on Breakthrough Success. It was such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it, man. It's a phenomenal show. And yeah, dude, all around provide a lot of value. And anyone that wants to reach out, feel free to.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Breakthrough Success. And it's amazing how we're almost at 400 episodes on the podcast. So definitely very appreciative of your support. The next episode that will be coming up on Breakthrough Success, we'll be talking about how to break through your barriers. So whether you feel like you're lacking when it comes to like personal, or you feel like you've had this business goal for a while that you haven't been able to hit, we're going to talk about how you can break through those barriers and achieve your greatness. So that's going to be next episode. And if you guys enjoyed the show, definitely make sure you subscribe and leave a quick review, because all that really helps out with the podcast. And I'll throw in a book recommendation for you guys at the end as well. But as always, dream big, achieve greatness, and unlock your potential today.
If you want a great book to read, take a look at The Greater by Aaron Varble. Aaron gives us a futuristic view of life in the 3200s, how society changes, and who the influential people are during this period of history. One thing you learn from the book is that the more things change, the more they stay the same. This is Aaron's first novel in his nonfiction series, which you can learn more about over at nonfictionbookseries.com.
This episode of Breakthrough Success was brought to you by Jobber. Jobber is your business's command center. The easy-to-use app powers your sales, operations, and customer service all in one place. Start a free trial or sign up today to receive 20% off your first 6 months over at getjobber.com/im/breakthrough.